All right. So one of the biggest things that causes a business owner over time to feel somewhat out of touch with is to look at their org chart or look around their office and all of a sudden recognize that the people that are in their business that they may not have hired, maybe the manager in that department is hired, look more like their kids than like the people they grew up with. Mm. And so that can immediately create a lot of anxiety because it's like, okay, I don't know these folks. I know they don't think the way I do. They certainly didn't come up the way I did. So there's this feeling that somebody's out of touch. And of course, you always default to yourself. You know, it's not me, it's them. Right. And so a lot of times what we have to do is go back and I say, look, I want you to sit with each one of your people over some period of time, 4 or 6 months. You know, it doesn't have to be all in 1 week. And I want you to learn 3 things, 3 very specific things from each person. Okay. You know, what motivates them? You know, what's the one thing they need the most help with? And what are they aspiring to become? One of the things as owners, when you hire people to do work on your behalf, sometimes you forget that the people you hire, they have their own career aspirations. That, you know, just because they're working in that role now doesn't mean they want to be there for the rest of their life.
You mean the pinnacle of achievement wasn't working for you?
Right. But the more you know about that and can partner with them on helping them achieve their own goals, the more loyalty they're going to show you. And that's what gets you through a lot of these pandemic situations where all of a sudden I can't manage them because they're not sitting in the office with me. Now they're at home and I don't know what they're doing. Well, if you really know who they are and what motivates them and what makes them really want to attack the job and where they're trying to go, then it doesn't matter how much distance you have between. You've got an emotional, mental connection where they know you've got their back, you know, their back at stuff, and you know that they're going to show up and give you their best effort.
Right. Well, that's interesting. You know, just to, let's face it, a lot of managers generally, and I think owners maybe even more specifically, aren't the best at like the people management stuff.
No.
Right. And they often don't, even the people they trust to be second in command, that kind of thing, are often people that had a lot of like either industry or technical knowledge on what they do, but also not great people stuff managers.
Right.
So, and you know, it's easy to dismiss it. Well, that's big company stuff. That's like HR, touchy-feely stuff. And yet it really isn't, right? Because it's about people. So how do you help people kind of bridge that gap in a way that feels practical to them, that doesn't feel like, okay, I got to just start all over, because that's discouraging if I got to start from scratch.
Okay. The probably, and anybody listening to your program, they can do this today. All right.
Today. So listen closely today.
Right. Stop going out on the floor. And I use the floor kind of metaphorically. Okay. And just interjecting yourself and telling people what to do. Or calling them out because they're doing something you think is wrong, even though they may have been trained that way by somebody else. Stop doing all that. Start visiting up with people and just simply asking questions about how are they doing? How are they finding the job? Okay, they've been in it for 6 months now. Is there anything they would do different? Because they obviously know what's going on. They're handling it. Ask inquisitive questions to learn what people are thinking and seeing, because I'll tell you what, if you learn how to ask good questions, people love talking about what they're doing, and you can learn a lot. You don't have to say anything. All you have to do is listen, and you can build massive bonds with people over a fairly short period of time, because what that demonstrates is you care about what they're doing. And if they're doing good stuff and you acknowledge them for that, now you've actually showed them that you really care about the good work they're doing. And you can build massive points in a short period of time by just making that fundamental communication change.
You know, that's so interesting, because sometimes it's little things. Like I've seen companies, you know, $20 million companies say, well, you know, we got to save money, so we're canceling the coffee service or something that really, you know, or we're canceling the water deliveries. I'm thinking like,
no more muffins for you.
Yeah, I said that's really your best answer. You know, how about let's create more value and make more margin, and let's solve it on the top line, not necessarily on the backs of our workers.
Right.
But it's small thinking is very, very typical. The other thing too is doing what you just suggested, Steve. You know, all of a sudden somebody says, well, you know, if you want to know what would help me, yeah, I want to know. And they say, well, the other station, they always deliver their work to us in pieces. It'd be really helpful if they stacked it a certain way. Why is that? Well, because then I can immediately go and do this and this, and I'd be done in half the time. And also, it's a small win. It didn't take anything to do it,
Right.
but you also create that sense of trust starts happening. It seems to
Okay.
me.
So do you remember a guy from the early 70s? He was a management guru. His name was Tom Peters.
Of course.
He coined the phrase management by walking around. And this is the exact same principle. If you're out and about just checking in on people, do it by showing interest in what they're doing, not by legislating what you think they should be doing that they're not doing.
But that also means you have to have the discipline that if somebody says, well, I'm doing it this way, I'm turning the stack sideways instead of, to the left instead of to the right, just to make the point. And you're thinking, well, my dad taught me it's from the right and I should do, instead, you don't really have to offer that opinion. You just go, okay, duly noted, because maybe it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
Your point is, if you're there as, oh, here's Jack again, policing us, telling us, all of a sudden people, you don't want to be the guy that nobody wants walking around.
Yes. Yes.